Hello, everyone, and welcome to the boring AFC, where if you like pragmatic football and 1-0 wins, we are the place for you. But that doesn't seem to be our mantra at the moment, does it? We seem to be scoring a lot more goals and being, I would say, a lot more direct with the Brentford game aside. So, yesterday we demolished Wigan 4-0 in the FA Cup to go through to the next round for the first time since winning the Cup way back when. And Arsenal were really dominant. They shut up shop after 30 minutes, 4-0 up. And I think that's pretty much as Arteta would have wanted it, to be honest, because it meant that the game was under control and we didn't have to do anything silly or desperate to get the job done. It would have been nice if there were more goals in the second half. Arsenal did come close at least twice. But with that all being said, professional performance, got the job done, and Arsenal march on. Let's talk a little bit about the goals. Let's talk about the lineup first. It was good to see Eze in the 10 because it meant that he could, I suppose, have a little bit more freedom to express himself and maybe build some confidence. It was a surprise to see Saka come into the team. I know that there was a lot of Arsenal fans that were disappointed not to see MLS get his opportunity in that position, but that wasn't awful either. And, Arsenal did what they had to do. So for the first two goals, Eze was really important. He played that gorgeous through ball to Madueke, who put the ball in the net. And it's nice to see Madueke being more important as well, I think, because he's probably going to have to start a lot of games at right midfield for the remainder of the season, especially as they manage Saka in his minutes, because obviously there is that kind of underlying fear that he might also get injured. So having Madueke on the right and being impactful was really good. He also did the same thing as in the second goal. And it's just finding the rhythm, isn't it? Again, a really clean cut through ball, as if he was playing Pro Evo, hit that finesse button, and Martinelli was onto it and shot first time. And I think that's really important as well. Against Brentford, Nelly could have won the game at the end there, and he didn't because he kind of delayed that shot. He took the shot early against Wigan, he got the goal, and that just settled the Emirates, and everyone knew that they were on to the victory. So it but both of those passes came from a deeper 8 position. Saka came in and played 10. So seeing Eze play from a deeper 8 position was quite interesting because it's not something you would normally associate with him. But he did make 2 really good passes there for the goals. And later on in the game, he could have scored himself as well, and maybe should have done. But I do question whether that's the type of thing we can do long term with Eze. And the reason why I say that is because he was playing in the 8 position where you would normally have Rice, and he didn't really have to do a lot of defending or a lot of pressing. So I wonder whether that was just a kind of, we'll do this one time because we need to, as opposed to let's trial you here and see how it looks, because I just don't see him being able to get away with that in a Premier League fixture. But having said that, he did play really well. And I think that it will do him a world of good when he goes into Wolves, where again you're thinking he has to start. Like I said with Madueke, I'm really pleased that he seems to be finding his feet, and he's not just scoring goals against Wigan. He scored the goal against Brentford, which was a really important goal. And Madueke was important for the third goal when Owen Goal stepped up for us, and without that run, we're not seeing those runs enough in this Arsenal team, right? Saka is a tippy-tappy footballer. He likes to cut inside. He's not as direct as he used to be. But that's Madueke's mantra. That's what he's doing. He wants to come in and run direct at the fullback and cut across the penalty box for the pass or the shot. So I think having 2 very different wingers is really good for us, and I think Madueke is finding form at just the right time, and I think that's going to bode really well for us for the rest of the season, because it means that we've got 2 different wingers who can play 2 different games when we need them. And then I think there's a case for Norgard getting more minutes as well. We've hardly seen Norgard, and I get it. Zumbavendi and Rice have been so good for us this season, but they are really racking up the minutes. And we're only one Rice injury away from a complete and utter disaster. So I do think that there is a case for Norgard getting more minutes, and obviously he put the ball over the top for that little Jesus dink. So I think that with Norgard, just because he's not Zubimendi or Rice, it doesn't mean that he's not good enough to be playing in this team. Like, I appreciate that those guys are levels, but Norgard is a very good player. He's experienced. He's played in Brentford. He's played tough games. And I think that he could be really important for us going forward. So it would be nice for him to get a little bit of rotation against teams, or even just getting more minutes against other teams, so that we can kind of manage a little bit more Zubimendi and Rice. Because, like I said, if they get injured, we're going to be in big trouble. So for me, it's nice to see that Norgard's getting the minutes, but I want more. I think Madueke is going to be really important for the rest of the season. And then seeing Saka in the 10, and I remember a couple of years ago, I said to my brother that Saka is the type of player who you could see moving more central as he gets older. And I think the same happened with Robert Perez. I think when he signed for Villarreal, I think it was Villarreal, he was playing central midfield. So, Saka, I think long term will have the capacity to be playing in that 10 position. And maybe we'll see it earlier than we expected, because we might have to, especially if, Odegaard is going to keep getting knocks, and especially if maybe Eze isn't able to continue what he did against Wigan, against Wolves, then we might see Saka come in and play the 10. And I'm okay with that, because Saka is very technical. He's good on the ball. He can hold it up. I don't think you can hold it up the way Havertz could if Havertz was fit, and he would be the ideal person to play there at the moment. I don't know if he's got that strength, because he definitely doesn't have the height, but he can hold up the ball. He's fast and he can go on a run, and he's very good in tight spaces as well. So I don't. There's a lot to like about Saka playing in that position, and in the short term, but then also in terms of his long-term career prospects as well. He's got a fierce shot on him. He can carry the ball. I just think that there's a lot to like for that. It's not ideal, because it means that Madueke's minutes are going to be even more, and you don't want to overload Madueke in the way that Saka has been overloaded for the last 5 or 6 years. But if Eze doesn't find his form, Havertz is out, Odegaard keeps picking up little knocks, then Saka might be an option there. And he proved himself to be an option there yesterday, even if he wasn't necessarily clinical or creating goals himself or whatever. He was doing the job of a 10, and he didn't look like he was out of his depth. And I think that's going to be really important for us. There is one thing I do want to talk about, though. It was when I saw the lineup yesterday, I was so excited to see that MLS was going to be getting an opportunity in at the 10. And then obviously Calafiori pulled up in warm-up, and it meant that Miles Lewis-Skelly had to drop into left-back, which meant that Eze moved across, which meant Saka came into the team. I was disappointed with that. I've been speaking to people about it. I think that Skelly is a natural ball carrier. He's a ball winner. He's strong. He's got the arrogance where he can play in that Declan Rice role and think that he could do a good job, as good. There's a lot to like about Miles Lewis-Skelly, and I was gutted for him, I have to say. However, that didn't necessarily impact the way he played. He still pushed into the midfield. He inverted. He still carried the ball, and he still had a couple of shots. Which I think is a nice sort of message to send to Arteta. It didn't cost the team, but it was also showing the team what he could offer. But I also think playing at left back kind of highlighted some of his weaknesses as well. Positionally, he's not great, and he's not very fast. And so he was still getting overlapped and outrun by the Wigan winger. And I think that was something that we saw, particularly when he had to go up against, I think, Frimpong against Liverpool. Like, there's just no way that he's catching those players. And I think that, you've got to be playing him or trialing him at least in his natural position. Yes, he's an okay cover, but he's not where we want him to be long term. And long term, we want him to be challenging the midfield positions. And so I was gutted for him. And it's something that I would still like to see this season, maybe even against Wolves. But it does beg the greater conversation. Calafiori keeps getting injured. Ben White again comes off with a knock. But we need players who are going to be able to play in these positions consistently or when called upon. And I don't think it helps when these are meant to be our older professionals, having to keep being replaced by the younger professionals. In this case, it was Miles Lewis-Skelly. And I'm also concerned about Timber's workload if Ben White comes on and picks up a knock. It might just been superficial and they were winning 4-0, so they thought there's no need to risk it. And it was nice to see Salmon get some minutes, but yeah, these players aren't available enough. And I think we're at injury now. It was 27 before the game kicked off. And if they both got injuries in this game, that's 28 and 29, which is more than what we had in the whole of last season. Again, it shows our squad depth. It shows that we can manage these things, but it doesn't make it any less frustrating. Okay, so let's just very quickly talk about the Wolves game. We've got Wolves on Wednesday night. If we win that game, we'll be 7 points clear. We should be winning that game, and you'd rather have the points on the table at this point. So, I'm okay with Arsenal having this midweek fixture because I still expect us to beat Tottenham at the weekend. So we should be doing a job on Wolves, putting the pressure on Man City to win the points and catch up with us again. It hasn't been good for Wolves over the last sort of 10 fixtures, but in the last 5, we've won 2-1, 1-0, 2-0, 2-0, and 2-1. So we're not scoring many against them. And, in this particular situation, we should be scoring more against Wolves. But we're not losing to them either, and we've taken 15 from 15 points. So I think that with that being said, we should be winning this game. I think we'll win it 2-0. And I think the team will be Raya, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Hincapié, Zubamendi, Rice, Madueke, Eze, Trossard, and Gyökeres. And then I'm hoping that there'll be minutes for Saka across Madueke or Eze's position, MLS in Rice's position, and then Nelly in Trossard's position. Bell's just rung, so I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so that was a bit of a palaver. But yes, that's the starting 11 that I think we'll have. I think that we will have too much for Wolves. It is away from home. I think it's going to be a little bit tentative, a little bit... the team's going to be a little bit anxious because they're going to be so desperate to get the points on the board. But I do think we will beat Wolves. I think it will be a comfortable result in the end. I think we'll win 2-0 and we'll go 7 points clear. And then we will take that into the North London derby against at the weekend, and we will take 3 points there too. So as always, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And I want to get to 50 subscribers so that I can stream live. So if you could do that, that would be really greatly appreciated. And I'll see you next time.